You could lose everything you have because of this mistake. Think your divorce papers are just boring, standard legal documents? Think again. Because hidden inside those pages are traps that could drain your bank account, strip you of custody rights, and lock you into agreements you'll regret for the rest of your life. And here's the harsh reality, most people never see them coming until it's too late. Your lawyer. They might not warn you. Your ex. They're not going to point it out. And the court. They don't care if you missed it, once you sign, it's binding. No do-overs. No second chances. That's why I need you to hear this. I know this process is exhausting. You're tired, you're overwhelmed, and you just want it to be over. But if you rush, if you sign without knowing the truth, you could be handing over your financial freedom, your parental rights, and even your ability to fight back in the future, all with one careless signature. So before you put pen to paper, let me walk you through the hidden clauses divorce lawyers don't want you to know about, the exact ones that could destroy you if you miss them. Watch till the end because I tell you how to protect yourself. If you're going through divorce right now, hit subscribe, because the truths I'm about to share are things most lawyers will never tell you. Mistake 1, the hidden debt trap. Let's start with one of the biggest time bombs hidden in divorce papers, the debt trap. Most people think divorce is just about dividing property, deciding custody, and moving on. But buried in those papers is a financial clause that could haunt you for years, debt responsibility. And here's the truth most people don't know, if your ex racks up credit card debt while you're still legally married, you could end up paying for it, even after the divorce. According to the American Bar Association, joint debts don't just vanish when the marriage ends. If your name is on it, creditors can, and will, come after you. The divorce decree doesn't protect you. It doesn't matter what the judge wrote, it doesn't matter if your ex promised to pay, if the bank has your name on the account, you're still on the hook. Think about that for a second. You're trying to rebuild your life, you're budgeting, you're making plans, and then, out of nowhere, a bill shows up. Not for your purchases. Not for your lifestyle. But for your ex's reckless spending. It could be a new TV, a vacation, or worse, hidden gambling or secret online shopping sprees. And the collection agency doesn't care if it wasn't you. They only care about whose name is on the debt. I've seen cases where people thought everything was squared away in the divorce, only to get slammed months later with thousands of dollars in overdue payments. Imagine starting fresh, only to be dragged back down by someone else's mistakes. That's the hidden debt trap. This is why you should never sign divorce papers until every single debt is spelled out clearly, who pays what, and when. Don't settle for vague phrases like, debts shall be divided fairly. That's a red flag. Demand specifics. If it's a joint credit card, make sure it gets refinanced into just one person's name. If it's a car loan, make sure the responsibility is legally transferred. If it's a mortgage, check who's keeping the house, and who's staying on the hook for the loan. Because here's the brutal truth, creditors don't care about your divorce agreement. They care about the original contract. If your signature is there, they'll come after you. And your only defense is making sure those debts are untangled before you ever sign. Now, I know you're exhausted. I know you just want this process over with. But rushing through this part is one of the costliest mistakes you could ever make. Taking an extra day, or an extra week, to demand clarity can save you from years of financial pain. So slow down. Read carefully. Ask questions. And never, ever assume that divorce magically cuts your ties to joint debt. It doesn't. Only clear agreements and careful planning do that. But debt isn't the only financial landmine hiding in your divorce papers. Because even if you dodge the bills, the next hidden clause could quietly rob you of your future income, and you won't even see it coming. Mistake 2, sneaky alimony clauses. Now let's talk about one of the most dangerous traps hiding in divorce papers, sneaky alimony clauses. Here's what most people don't know, alimony agreements can be written in ways that trap you for decades. And I mean decades. Some states allow what's called a non-modifiable spousal support clause. That little phrase sounds harmless, almost technical, but the reality? It could chain you financially to your ex until the day you die. Let me break it down. A non-modifiable alimony clause means that once it's signed, it cannot be changed. At all. Doesn't matter if you lose your job. Doesn't matter if you get sick. Doesn't matter if your ex gets remarried, moves in with a new partner, or even starts earning more than you. You are still legally bound to keep paying, month after month, year after year. No exceptions. And here's the cruel truth, divorce lawyers know this. Judges know this. But very few will stop to explain just how severe this clause really is. Why? Because moving the papers through quickly gets everyone paid. It's faster. It's cleaner. But it's you, the one signing, who ends up living with the fallout. I've seen cases where someone agreed to a standard alimony clause, thinking they could revisit it later if circumstances changed. But when they lost their job, they discovered the hard way that the agreement was locked tight. The court's answer: sorry, you signed. You're still responsible. Imagine trying to rebuild your life after divorce, only to have half your paycheck gone every month with no end in sight. That's not freedom. That's financial prison. That's why you must always check if your alimony clause is modifiable. If it's not, you could be signing away your financial freedom for years, or even decades. Ask directly, is this clause modifiable? Under what conditions? What happens if my income changes? If you don't like the answers, don't sign. Negotiate. Because once that ink is dry, the court will not save you. I know this part feels overwhelming. You're probably thinking, I just want this done. I don't want to fight about money anymore. But trust me, fighting now for clarity could save you years of regret later. Because the truth is, divorce isn't just about ending a relationship. It's about protecting your future. And the alimony clause is one of the most powerful tools in that future, for better, or for worse. So don't let the legal language fool you. Don't assume it's standard or fair. Read it, question it, and make sure it's modifiable. Otherwise, you're not just signing divorce papers, you're signing away your freedom. And if you think money's the worst part, wait until you see the custody clause that parents sign every single day, without realizing it's a trap. Quick pause, if this is hitting home, drop a comment with the word truth, so I know you're finding this helpful. Now, let's move on to mistake number 3, because this one blindsides parents the most. Mistake 3, custody clauses that box you in. Now let's move to one of the most painful hidden traps in divorce papers, custody clauses that quietly box parents in. Most parents walk into this process believing custody agreements are flexible. You think, I'll just work it out later, we'll figure it out as life changes. But buried inside many divorce settlements is a clause called a relocation restriction. What does that mean? It means you may not be able to move more than a few miles away without your ex's permission, sometimes not even out of your county, let alone out of state. Think about that. Doesn't matter if you land a better job across town. Doesn't matter if your family lives hours away and could help with childcare. Doesn't matter if the neighborhood you're in becomes unsafe. If that restriction is in place, and you move without permission, the court can strip you of custody. Just like that. According to the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, relocation disputes are among the top custody battles in divorce cases. And parents who didn't catch these restrictions at the start often regret it for years, because once the language is written into your decree, changing it later is a legal nightmare. Courts usually favor stability for the child, which means they rarely approve major moves unless both parents agree. Imagine this, you've worked hard to rebuild your life after divorce. You're offered a promotion in another city, a chance to give your child a better home, better schools, a brighter future. But when you look at your custody agreement, you discover you can't move without your ex's permission. And if your ex says no, you're trapped. Either you turn down the opportunity, or you risk losing custody altogether. That's why before you sign anything, you must check the relocation language in your custody agreement. Don't assume it's harmless. Don't assume it can be fixed later. Ask, how far can I move without approval? What's considered relocation in this state? Some agreements define it as 50 miles. Others define it as crossing a county line. The details matter, because once it's written down, the court will hold you to it. I know this part is gut-wrenching. You're already navigating the emotional toll of splitting time with your child. The last thing you want is to think about being trapped by a technicality. But that's exactly why you need to pause, breathe, and look closely. Because the decisions you make today will shape not just your freedom, but your child's future as well. Remember this, courts enforce what's written, not what you thought it meant. If you value flexibility, if you think there's even a chance you might need to relocate for work, family, or safety, fight for that language now, while you still can. Because once the ink is dry, your hands may be tied for years. Now, if you thought custody was strict, the next hidden clause is even worse, because it literally takes away your right to fight back. By the way, if you know someone going through divorce, share this video with them, it could save them from signing away their future. Mistake 4, waiving your rights without realizing it. Now, this one might sound innocent at first glance, but it's one of the most dangerous traps hidden inside divorce papers. It's called a waiver of claims. On paper, it looks simple, you're signing a line that says you agree not to come back later and challenge the divorce settlement. Some people think, well, I don't plan to fight about this later anyway, so why not just sign and move on? But here's the catch, by waiving your rights, you're basically saying, even if I find out later that something was unfair, I'll never challenge it. And this is where so many people unknowingly lock themselves into financial disaster. Imagine this, your ex was hiding a retirement account, a side business, or even property in someone else's name. You don't know about it during the divorce, so it never gets divided. Years later, you find out the truth. Surely you'd be able to go back to court and claim your fair share, right? Wrong. Once you've signed that waiver of claims, courts almost never let you undo it. Big law firms warn that this clause is practically irreversible. Judges don't want to reopen finalized cases, and the waiver is their way of saying, case closed, no matter what comes out later. And here's the heartbreaking reality, people have lost tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars this way. Retirement savings, investment accounts, even hidden real estate, all gone, because of one signature on one small clause that seemed harmless at the time. That's why you should never, ever sign a waiver without fully understanding exactly what claims you're giving up. If your lawyer can't explain it in plain English, push back. Ask questions. Because once you waive those rights, you may be locking away wealth you'll never see again. And remember, divorce isn't just about what's happening today. It's about protecting your financial future. Waiving your rights could cost you money that was legally yours, money that could have secured your retirement, paid for your children's education, or given you the fresh start you deserve. So don't let a waiver of claims rob you blind. Read carefully. Get advice. And protect yourself before you put pen to paper. And here's the final hidden clause, the one divorce lawyers pray you never find out about. Mistake 5, the attorney fee clause. Now this last one is sneaky. It doesn't look scary on paper, but it can absolutely ruin you if you're not paying attention. It's called the attorney fee clause. Here's how it works, buried deep in some divorce settlements, there's a line that says if there's ever a dispute in the future, whether it's about custody, child support, visitation, or even unpaid alimony, you could be forced to pay not only your own lawyer, but also your ex's. Think about that for a second. Imagine you discover your ex isn't paying child support on time, so you go back to court to enforce the agreement. You hire a lawyer, pay the court filing fees, spend months preparing your case. But then, because of this hidden clause, the judge says, not only do you have to cover your own legal bill, you also have to pay your ex's $20,000 attorney tab. That's not just unfair, that's devastating. It's basically a punishment for standing up for yourself. And that's exactly why some lawyers and ex-spouses try to slip it into the fine print. It creates fear. It makes you think twice before ever challenging anything in the future, even if you're legally in the right. According to State Bar Association guidelines, this clause is rare, but when it shows up, it's like a financial time bomb. Most people don't even realize it's there because the wording can sound so technical, phrases like prevailing party fees or fee-shifting provision. Unless you know exactly what that means, you might skim past it and sign, locking yourself into a nightmare. And here's the scary part, courts often enforce these clauses. That means you could end up in a situation where your ex intentionally drags you back into court, knowing you'll be the one forced to pay. It's a lose-lose trap. The solution? Before you agree to anything, comb through the settlement for any mention of attorney fees. Ask your lawyer directly, is there a fee-shifting clause in here? If there is, push back. Negotiate it out. Don't let it slide just because it looks minor. Because remember, this clause isn't about fairness. It's about intimidation. It's designed to scare you into never going back to court, no matter how unfair the situation becomes. And if you miss it, the financial consequences could follow you for years. So take the time. Double-check every word. Because signing away your financial future with a single overlooked sentence, that's a mistake you can't afford to make. And that wraps up the 5 hidden divorce mistakes that can destroy your future if you're not careful. Debt traps, hidden income clauses, parenting loopholes, waivers of rights, and attorney fee clauses. each one is a silent landmine waiting for you to sign without noticing. Don't let the fine print decide your future. Protect yourself, ask questions, and never sign until you understand every single line. Divorce papers are not just paperwork. They're contracts that can shape the rest of your life. Never assume they're standard, and never assume your lawyer will spell out every risk. Protect yourself by reading every word, asking direct questions, and refusing to sign until you're 100% sure. Because here's the truth, divorce doesn't just end a marriage, it rewrites your future. Make sure you're the one holding the pen. Here's how you protect yourself. 1. Read every word, even the ones that look like legal filler. 2. Ask direct, uncomfortable questions. Don't let vague answers slide. 3. Watch for key phrases like joint debt, non-modifiable, relocation restrictions, waiver of claims, and prevailing party fees. Those aren't just words, they're warning signs. 4. And most importantly, never sign until you are 100% sure what every clause means for you, not just today, but 5, 10, 20 years down the road. If you found value here, subscribe right now, and check out my previous video which broke down the custody battles lawyers don't want you to know about. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Because once the ink is dry, the court doesn't care if you didn't understand. Ignorance is not a defense. The contract is the contract. Disclaimer: this video is for informational purposes only and is not legal advice. Always consult a licensed attorney in your state before making decisions about your divorce.